Hello and welcome back to another Blender recap video. And in this one, we're going to talk about three important features you guys should be aware of. So let's get started. General, turn on my screencast keys so you guys can look at what I'm pressing. And then, alright, so delete this uh, cube and Shift A, place a grid. So what I'm going to show first is proportional editing. So we're going to tab into edit mode. Yes, there we go. So usually, let's say you're making like a mountain or hill, right? So you select this is like your base, and you select it, grab G, and then you go like that. And then you have to do it kind of like individually, or you have to like shift select, like okay, I want to shift select these, something like that, you know. But instead, if you want to be able to kind of do it in an area, kind of like landscape, instead of just one by one or few at a time, an easy way to do that is by using proportional editing, which is right here. So you select this, and then now when we press grab, there's like this big radius, and this radius determines what the vertices that are in that scope of that radius of the vertices in that radius, they will all be affected. So now look at that. Since they're all there, they're all going to be affected. Now we have like a much nicer like hill, and then we can go here and then kind of mess around with that. So now we have a much we can control more things at one time now, and this will be very helpful. And one particular thing you can do with this is there is also options on how you want to how proportionally it's going to affect this. So like there's like random. So look at that. Now that can be like kind of like a terrain, terrain area for like a landscape. It's like random in which vertices it picks up. Uh, but an important one I would say is sphere. So with this, so go like that. And then you'd be wondering, is the radius always going to be the same size? No, you can adjust that by using your mouse scroll bar. So like make it bigger, go forward, make it bigger, go back, make it smaller, make it like that, and then kind of elevate it from here. And this is something you can do to make like an eye or something where you make it kind of go down and then go in the middle and then kind of lift it up for that like eyeball part for certain modeling. This will be very helpful. So that's it for proportional editing. You can mess around with all these different modifiers, I guess, and then select the vertices. But the main point is that this will kind of simplify the process and give you more control. Let's move on to the next important feature that I want to talk about by pressing Control N, starting a new project. And in this one, I want to cover about rigging and bones. I know we just did on the last video, but the key feature that I would like to talk about is helping to simplify this process where you had to go and choose each bone and then move it, where with this you can kind of move multiple at the same time. And so let's start off by deleting this and then Shift A, mesh and cylinder. And what we want to do is make something like a snake attack. So that's kind of like the idea behind how this will help with that. And so we press S for scale and Z to make this taller. Press 4, that'd be like a good length. And then R and X-axis and 90. Put it on the side. Go to edit mode. Control R is the shortcut for loop cuts. So we'll place that loop cut there and we'll command. There it is. So I think I mentioned this previously, but this is where you select number of loop cuts. You can do this with your scroll bar as well. I'm gonna place like 20 number of cuts. And then once we tab back into object mode, you're never going to be able to customize it again, and that's something you want to be aware of. So we tab back, hopefully, yeah, okay. So we have our cut so now that we can, have it like, bend and move free like a snake. So let's put a bone armature, but we can't see it because it's in here. In order for that, we go to the side here, go to bone, or here, even this viewport display in front, and so now we can see it. What we want to do with this is rotate x-axis -90, and then we'll press the y-axis and move it to the back. I think that's sticking out. Maybe I'll turn off in front for a second here, and then grab it, y-axis. Alright, right there, and then turn back in front. Just making it easier to see if I like got it in there correctly. Alright, now we'll go into edit mode, tab into edit mode, extrude into y-axis, make another one that's kind of similar to that. Just eyeball it, something like that. I think that's pretty darn close. And then we just press Shift R, and then that'll keep duplicating it. And then we have one sticking out because that's, that'll help us in, animating it. So now that we have the bones, we have to parent it. So let's go back into object mode, select the mesh, then shift select the bones and control P. Then we can press with automatic weights. Perfect. Now we have parented. And now we can go into pose mode. And if you select the bone and rotate, look at that. Great. So right now you can see that, if we select the bone, it's kind of like stiff, kind of like elbow-ish, where just that bone and everything else just kind of stays, which is not necessarily ideal for when you're trying to like make like a snake animation where you have to do one by one, go like this, then select and go like this. Makes it a little bit more complicated, but in order to streamline this process, what we're gonna do is go to pose options. It's called inverse kinematics. Select the auto IK option here, and then if we press grab, look at that. It kind of does it for multiple bones here. So this is a lot better. So now we can go grab, kind of do, but you can see it's kind of like fidgety. It just kind of like snaps out. Um, so, yeah, there you go. This is how we can kind of streamline this process. And this is like the basic auto inverse kinematics, and it's called auto because it just does it for like all the bones. You can just select the bone and then just do it. But I'm gonna go back here. Um, but if we wanted to have even more control while still having that streamline, simplified way of doing it, you want to go down here to bone constraints, add bone constraint, and then we have inverse kinematics. But the key thing to keep in mind with this is it's only for the bone you select. So for auto, you can just select any bone and then be able to do this. But with the constraint, when we're adding it, it's for each particular bone. As you can see here, it says bone 004, which is probably bone 004. Um, this one. So here, now you're still, hold up, select the bone, grab. Okay, there we are able to do it. So because we didn't add a constraint for that, that's why we're not able to do that. So we'll add one. More schematic. There we go. And so with this, it still works the same way as we did with Auto IQ, Auto IK, but now separate bones. But the thing with even this is we can have even more control by selecting the chain length. When it's at 0, it's just gonna do all of them. But then you can select one, and then look at that. Now it doesn't do it as much, right? So you can just select how many ever you want. I command Z back too much. Okay, there we go. So yeah, you can kind of mess around with that. And with this, we just have to work with, instead of having to go individually do each bone, you can you have more like you just have to work with like two bones and then you can do the animation, right? So it's a lot simpler to work with that way. And this, yeah, that's it for this inverse kinematics for bones in rigging. And now we'll start another one, and finally we'll cover about merging two different objects into one, joining it, and then also merging the vertices. So X, delete, and then we'll start off with another cylinder. And what we're gonna make is like a silo. That's the idea. So Shift A, mesh, cylinder, scale it in Z axis, press 2, and then so we'll take the top of it off. So like the face. So we'll go to face select this face. We can press right click. No, just press X, delete face. Perfect. So we take the top off. Go back into object mode, Shift A. Now we'll get a UV sphere. But then what we want to do is we want to take half of the UV sphere out, but then the cylinder's in the way. And one really neat feature that you want to have in mind is when you're working with multiple objects in a scene, but then you want to be able to focus on one, is to press the slash key just next to your shift, and then it'll just focus on this. But then you'll be worried, oh, where did it go? You just press it back, and then you'll um, get back into the scene with all the objects. So just press this. Now we go into tab into edit mode, select vertices, but then keep in mind you want to have, when we're deleting and then you want to delete all around, toggle on X-ray mode, and then we'll delete, I believe, this part. X, delete vertices, should have, yep, half. And then we can tab back into object mode, press this, and then we have this, and then now we can grab it, move it in Z, press like 12, no, whoops, okay, grab it, Z, 2, I believe, yep, and then it'll just move it up twice of it, and now it's, it's looking good like a silo, but obviously it's two separate things, so in order to join it, shift select them both, right click, join. I think the Command J is the quick or short hotkey shortcut to do it. But the vertices still are not joined. So in order to show that, I'll go into edit mode. And as you can see here, we select a vertex, right? And if you want, we can go. All right, there we go. Take off that. Select a vertex, and then as you can see, it's not. It should have selected that as well. Like it's still not merged. So what we want to do is select this and then shift select again. No, okay, maybe turn on that. Select this because you want to select both of them. Okay, so go into mirror, so click on it, and then shift and click on it again, and then you should be able to select both the vertices, the one on top of each other, and then go to mesh, merge, add center. And now we can take this off and then grab it. It should be one cohesive, um, you know, one cohesive vertices. Now it's like truly it's joined and the vertices are merged. So that's great. And then one key thing to note of is there's auto merge. And when you're working with like two vertices that are like slightly apart, but you still want them to act as one, you can turn this on. And then there's a threshold that'll determine like how far away that you still want them to um, consider as one vertex. So that's it for this video. Thank you.